So here it is, and it's about time and how we are always stressed about, am I doing things fast enough? I need to speed things up because I got so much to do, in the belief that that's what's going to produce your results, right? And so this is where we build up our own stress levels and tension and actually miss the experience that's waiting to come through us. And that's exactly what happened to me. I think it was now a week or two ago. And then, as I said, one of my students literally echoed it last night. And so, let me see, should I talk about hers or mine? Well, why don't I blend the two? Okay, I'll kind of mention how she brought it up and my response, and then also my experience of it. So, she's in a place where she's experiencing a lot of stress, and some of it is physical things, there's changes, there's long held desires, there's passion, like, she just wants to so-called get on with life, get on with the things that she actually wants to do. But what's happening is, like, while the desires are over here, it feels like she's, for her, like she's sliding back because all these problems and issues are showing up. So forget about like moving to her actual desires. She actually feels like she's being sent back. And so her comment was simply, oh, if only I could do, A, B, and C, and then I could get on with my life. And I stopped her at that moment and I basically said, look, right now, what you believe is a complete lie and it's an illusion. It is not truth. Because what would happen, let's say you could just do the extra work, put in the extra effort for a couple of weeks, change the so-called scenario, and then, step forward to what you say you want. And what's going to happen is another need is going to show up, and then another need. And sometimes these needs may come out of positive experiences we have. It may also come out of a negative issues, like some problem that shows up. So what will happen is, even if she moved forward through will and effort, she will not have changed anything inside her. She will not have shifted the energy. She will not be in any different frequency. She'll be in the same one, still attracting and calling in experiences that are going to keep echoing that until she makes a decision to shift. And I know that sounds really harsh when we're in the middle of a difficult time. I mean, everyone on this planet goes through it, right? And yet, I know from my own experimentation over years that no matter what results I get, no matter what success I experience on a day, a couple of days later, it just feels like normal again, often, right? And then here I am already concerned, worried, back in the old box of feeling and thinking in a constricted way. And that's what needs to change. That is what needs to change. It's not getting the result. And as I said, I've experienced results from manifestation. I have experienced results from action. I have experienced results from mere desire and thought, and then they've come into my life. And as much as I am grateful for them, as much as I come into the present moment and go, oh, like I really receive them and I enjoy them, if I am returning to that old box of tension and stress, and now like the next step that I'm moving towards, I have not changed. The scenario then repeats itself. And it's crazy how much it has to repeat itself until we finally see. And the way we're going to see is actually by pausing, slowing down, being in stillness more often, and starting to observe how we operate and really what is going to shift us? What returns us to a state that is of abundance, that is of health, that is of love, that is of joy and creative expression? It's a state that then determines our experience. So my own example of this, as I said, I think, a week or two ago, I was literally like sitting where I am now, and I had this list of thoughts of, okay, let me do this and this. And once I get that done, then I can move on to what I really want to do, all right, which is more of my creative work. And the things that felt like in the way was this decluttering that I've started. A couple of videos ago, I mentioned how I was going to move into adding some new decor in my place, and I started that, and it just feels right, except like I'm just finding this inner pause. And like I said in that video where I was talking about, I could probably do it all in a weekend. I know the things I like. I can probably order some of these things online, and then, everything will be here. But that did not feel resonant with me for whatever reason. It just didn't. It wasn't a matter of just having stuff. It was more a matter of resonance. And so that for me meant, again, this may sound strange, like I often say in my videos, but it was like almost like I had to digest, metabolize certain experiences inside me so that when they do arrive, I'm fully available to them, and I am, I'll say, at the frequency of having them and of them having meaning and purpose versus just being objects. And so I got a couple of pieces and love them. But then I'm looking around and there's like mess in other places because I've pulled out things that are either meant to be thrown away or given away or organized and put in another place. And as much as that is irritating me, it's like, again, there's this pause inside. It's like something's not wanting to move. It's wanting to be more in stillness and more in quiet and peace. And at first, I was very much like a student of mine. If I could only, I can obviously force myself to get these things done. And one of the tasks will take no more than an afternoon if I'm serious about it. But that whole act of pushing and forcing myself with the belief that somehow if I do that, then I can move on to the good stuff, I caught myself. I caught myself this time, and I was so happy because I realized that it was a complete illusion and lie to think that any of this stuff in my way that's showing up, like I've put out there, that's cluttering up my place, it was a complete illusion that it was in my way. It is a complete illusion. It's a lie. Because quite frankly, and I know everyone can understand this, if I were to have like some brilliant brainstorm in this moment, something like, oh my God, yes, this is right, and I must do this, I would 100% get up and do what is calling me. And so there is no wasted time. It's not like, okay, let me wait 5 days and do all of these tasks and activities and then it'll be waiting for me. No, whatever it is that I'm moving toward, it can erupt right now in a new brainstorm of action that my true self knows must be taken in the moment. Mess or no mess, it can be done, right? So the clutter is not in my way. I can 100% choose it when I am in the place that I am ready to choose that. If it's really an issue, then obviously I can take action and do something to clean up the space. If it's mentally messy, like for me, seeing things visually that are a mess can feel mentally like blocking, like I just want to, clear things and organize them. And then I'm like, again, I have a spaciousness that allows me to tap much more easily into my creative self. And yet, think of an artist. Often, in the middle of creating art, at the beginning of creating art, everything is messy because there's a process that one has to go through. Or like renovating your house, you have to sometimes destroy parts of it in order to put it back together in the right way, right? So for me right now, there was that awareness of this is just that kind of middle space where, yes, things look like this, things feel like this. And I'm making choices to trust my body and my rhythm and my inspiration, because I know for a fact that when that energy shows up, it may take literally like half an hour to complete what I thought. Or like I actually did today, as I said, like a couple of the things I thought of people who may actually want them. And so, like I wrote a quick email to someone, and she's like, yes. And she came up with a great idea on how to use it. And that felt really inspiring, because this is something that's kind of sentimental to me. There are these old videos, like literal video cassettes, which obviously I haven't even touched for I don't know how long. And yet they're sitting there because they represent an important part of my life. There's training in them for a practice that I used to teach for many years, and so they are special to me. And yet, the likelihood of me pulling out the old video player and doing all that is just like like 1% chance, and I don't actually need to, or I have so many other newer DVDs as well which I put online, blah blah blah, that I can access, and I'm happy to, and that feels good. And so this morning, this email just was like sent out, and she replied back, and now this kind of new experience may happen within a particular community that may have access to these things that I had, because I started that many years ago, and they didn't, and they don't have access to them anymore because they're not available. Right? So that's just like an example of how I'm allowing things to just, like when I feel called, when I'm inspired in the moment, okay, let's take care of that, let's take care of that. And all of this to say, I mean, this may sound terribly laborious and like, oh my God, is that the way you work? But sometimes the answer is yes. Not always, not every day, but sometimes the answer is yes. And why it is a yes for me right now is because I became aware that I'm actually moving through a deeper shift. The things I keep, sometimes allude to in my videos that I'm planning to do, that I'm working on behind the scenes, in my business, in my creations. It's a big thing. It's not, big thing in an emotional way, a big thing in terms of like really connected to soul and purpose, and big as in I'd like for some of it to start going out into the world in a certain way. And so it's not like you're going to switch like that, right? Like, you're doing one thing one day and totally like, oh, now I'm this new person. But there can be an integration period that happens. There can be a time where, like, I'm embodying this stuff in a way that will allow me, when I'm ready, to present it without collapse, without moving into self-sabotage, without doubting and feeling like an imposter, or, like just a fake person or something. Those are the experiences we have when we haven't fully integrated. And integration happens mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? Like, let's just say, I don't know, say you're a chef, right? And you've always loved cooking and you're working as a chef. It's so easy to walk into a place, somebody says, what do you do? And you say, I'm a chef. That's embodiment. You're there. There's no question about it. But let's just say, you started a YouTube channel, you started a new career, you are taking your business in a completely new direction, and no one in your environment knows that about you yet. Or they kind of know it, but they don't see that. They don't see you in that way. They are seeing you still in an old light because that's who they've known and experienced for a very long time. Well, when you make those changes, that's when you can get a lot of feedback and a lot of echoes that come back to you that kind of say, hey, who are you to do this? Who do you think you are? You can't do this. You don't have enough training. You don't have enough experience. You're too old. You don't have enough money to do this. You're not the kind of person who does that, are you? And that slows us down typically, right? Because as strong as you might be, as thick of a skin as you might have, those kind of comments can easily slip and slide in, and and then you hear them in your own mind, before you're trying to get to sleep or something, right? Whereas what I'm talking about is allowing this integration phase where it looks like I'm really doing things at a slow pace, which is aggravating my mind, because my mind knows how, like on a technical level, of course, many things could be done quickly and swiftly. But then I will not have the experience of what I'm actually doing, which is, as I said earlier, like digesting or metabolizing the change. Because this isn't just a physical change, like making something look pretty. It's actually an inner shift in architecture and embodiment of who I am and how I show up, and how what I've created is a full body of work. And so that's why in that moment when I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, if only I could just get this done, I could move on to the next step, just like my student. If only I could take care of these things, I could move on to the next step. My reaction to her was, that is a lie, that is an illusion, and that is an illusion that many people live their whole lives with. If only I could get this done, I would be that. If only this would happen, I would be that. And we live in the gap between those two, if and then when. And nothing really changes, nothing really happens. We might manifest occasionally, we might even manifest significant things, which is fun and exciting, but as I said, they last a couple of days or a few days, and then energetically we come back into that old box, that old frequency, and make old decisions. And when you decide to change that, when you are ready to transmute that into something else, use that energy and transform not only who you are from the inside out, but your experiences, your decision making, the way you create, the possibilities that are actually available to you, instead of making decisions from, this is who I am now, and so therefore I can do, step number 2. You actually can open that and move into the field of your desires. And in your desires are things that you have no idea how you would actually bring into fruition. You may have no idea how you're going to get the resources to make them happen. You have no idea how you're going to connect and access the people who are ripe for exactly what you're creating, right? So moving into that field of true desires, allowing your higher self to speak to you, and through you, you then experience quantum leaps that are embodied, meaning that by the time that thing, that person, that place arrives for you, you have already received it. It feels natural. And when it feels natural, you will be able to sustain it, have it, keep it, stay with it, evolve with it, move with it. you won't be going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. And I hope that the student was able to receive that. I think some of it was very new information, and I may be speaking in a way that she couldn't totally understand yet because a lot of this content is new for her. But this is where, and I shared this with her. I said, this is where, because she mentioned it, she knows that I also coach. And so I said, when you move into a coaching package with me, this is where we build that foundation for all the change to begin happening together holistically, so that the desires that are up here and where you feel like you are, that space collapses, so you can actually start moving up, and you move up in a healthy way where things actually start working themselves out. Certain problems will dissolve just like that, and other opportunities will show up and experiences will show up. Your frequency will change. And because your frequency changes, guess what? Solutions show up in a way they never have before, because you're at a new frequency. It's like going to a country where suddenly, maybe they have certain fruits on their trees and you can just pick that fruit off that tree. Well, where you live locally, it will never grow. And maybe it'll never even come into the grocery store. But when you move to that country, boom, it's right there. It's everywhere, maybe. Right? So same thing. It's like you move to a new frequency, you move to a new place. And that new place is going to open the doors and guide you. And, so at that point, I just really left it. And I kind of, in this case, it was like, well, if you're ready to step into that kind of space and you want to work with me, that's a different ball game. But you have to move into the commitment. You can't be sitting there saying, please fix this, just so I can run over and meet that. You actually have to want to be a new self and create from the new self. And if you've watched my videos and resonate, you know to click the link below and we can have a discussion on how some of these shifts you're making and some of the places you think you may be lagging may actually be perfect information that shows where the frequency is shifting and how you can create the space for that new level to start moving through you, not just show up temporarily, not just show up with this constant back and forth, 2 steps forward, 5 steps back all the time, but you actually begin receiving, being in, and seeing yourself in that new identity that is actually far more your truth.